What you looking at?
The Old Loves Tumblr. It's the best. Do you know it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the old people having sex. I love that one.
Nope. It's just famous people who used to be couples that we all forgot about, like Val Kilmer and Cher.
They were a really good couple, but she also seems so much happier with Rob Camilletti, that bagel boy.
Yeah. I mean, they all look super happy, then I guess something just goes wrong.
Maybe nothing went wrong. Maybe the relationship just lasted for the amount of time it was supposed to. Maybe all relationships have like a finite lifespan, like Whoopi Goldberg and Ted Danson, or Fran and me.
Hannah, I don't even know what's going on with you and Fran, but I'm assuming he's right.
He actually isn't right.
Well, just work it out, because he's a really good guy.
He's actually not a good guy, Marnie. He's a seemingly good guy.
Okay, well, that's a step up. I mean, Adam didn't even seem like a good guy.
Adam was actually more sane than Fran. He was just in the body of a psychopath.
Actually, that's not true. Adam's completely insane. And he's bow-legged. Just disgusting.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Boys Watching Girls. We are just two boys watching HBO's Girls, reviewing every episode. We are your hosts. I am Joe Welke.
I am Vance.
And today we are talking about Season 5, Episode 4. Overall, this is Episode 46. It is titled Old Loves. It is directed by Jesse Peretz, written by Bruce Eric Kaplan, and the original air date was March 13th, 2016, to an audience of 479,000 people, 0.479 million. And there's a lot of fucking going on in this.
Yeah, there is. Yep. That's. I mean, last episode was a lot of nudity, but not a lot of sexing going on, and this one is a lot of both. But
yes,
but backloaded, towards the end.
Yeah.
It's not throughout.
It's the headliner of the episode.
Yeah.
a lot of this episode's titled Old Loves, but I would say that this episode should have been titled New Loves.
True.
Because there's a lot of new fucking going on here.
True.
There's some friends becoming enemies. There's some enemies becoming lovers. There's some.
Were they ever friends? Were they ever friends?
Yeah. Who knows? I don't know how to tackle this one.
There's only like one scene that really crosses over everybody,
Mm-hmm.
So.
No, there's a couple. I don't know. Like Jessa and Hannah's kind of weaves together.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe we should.
Yeah, you know what we should do? We should do. We can do Marnie separately. We can do Elijah separately.
And then Hannah and Jessa together, basically.
Yeah, and we'll do Hannah first and then end on Jessa. How about that? That way, because I got more stuff. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's how I was thinking about tackling it too.
I'm sure everyone loves that this is what we do at the beginning of every podcast is explain.
I know. They're like, how are we going to do this? How are we doing it? This should definitely be a pre-podcast conversation.
Absolutely.
Hey, it's part of the charm.
Yep.
Part of the charm, Vance. So we're going Marnie first. Marnie gets back to her apartment. She's looking really happy. And then she gets to like, she's outside of where she lives. She's walking up to her building and one of her neighbors comes out and he flips her the bird. And she's just kind of like, what? Why'd you give me the bird? Goes into the building. She's walking up the stairs. Another one of her neighbors is walking down the stairs. And she's like, hey, how's it going? And that neighbor is also like, go fuck yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And Marnie's like, what's going on? Like, why is everyone being so weird? And that girl says that, like, it's been really hard being your neighbor because you don't seem to have respect for the people around you. And I've tried really hard to be, I guess, coy about it or respectful, but you obviously don't respect your neighbors. And then she walks out. And that girl is from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Yeah. And The Big Sick. She's in that too.
I really liked her in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
But continuing on here, Marnie goes and she hears some really loud construction going on. She walks into her apartment and Desi is doing some kind of crazy home renovation where he's putting up a wall divider to separate the bedroom from his studio/kitchen. And Marnie's like, what the fuck? You didn't tell me about this. He was like, yeah, it was supposed to be a surprise. And I didn't think that you'd be home this early. And Marnie's pissed, basically.
Okay. Yeah, so he's separating a wall, building a wall in their like studio apartment to make it a 1-bedroom apartment. And it got me thinking, why did her and Hannah live in a bigger apartment than her and Desi?
Because I think that Desi's a bum and he doesn't really have a job. And
but
she
wasn't
doesn't
he
really
on
have
a
job.
CW show and did a Broadway play? And they had a record deal?
That's true.
Like, I'm not saying that they're flush with cash, but I do think they have enough for a 1-bedroom apartment somewhere. If Marnie was able to pay for basically her own a 2-bedroom apartment.
Yeah. You know what? That's a good point. And they were just in Ecuador.
Yeah,
They just had
you can splurge
lavish vacation.
I mean, you can splurge money on vacations and still live like in a small apartment stuff. But I just feel like, yeah, they should have been
With both of their income.
Yeah.
But you also see how Desi wastes money, like with the guitar pedal. Like, I mean, and Marnie brings up that she's like, yeah, I said I wanted more space, and you technically have made this less space.
Yeah. Well, he did say he thought it was about her wanting to be separate from him, but also I don't feel like him being in the studio/kitchen, which is 200 feet square feet, is gonna work. Like, and that happens in a lot of apartments like that. Like, there's a lot of those converted like 1-bedrooms to 2-bedrooms, but converting a studio like that with the wall, just rough.
Well, your thought is very valid with like, why can't they just afford a 1-bedroom and move into a bigger place, which is like seemingly what Marnie actually wanted.
Well, I'm thinking if it was Marnie making that much money as like the gallery receptionist or whatever she was doing in the first season.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Well, what is she doing for work now? Does she work at Ray's still?
No, I don't think anybody works at Ray's really.
Except for Elijah. Yeah, Ray's is having a rough patch. My concern with this was you can't just do that to an apartment that you're renting.
They knocked down the wall and no, you really can't. Really, it's got to be like a condo that you buy, or else you just have to like do something else. But they did the same thing in Hannah's apartment when they knocked down that wall. When Adam knocked down that wall.
Yeah, dude, the landlord is gonna be fucking livid.
That's the difference. Adam knocks down walls. Desi builds them up.
Oh wow,
that's the deepest this podcast will get.
That's the theme.
Yeah.
Deep themes with Vance. But yeah, Marnie's like super pissed about it. And she's like, well, how much did this even cost, Desi? And Desi says, and I wrote this down, don't worry about it. The wall will pay for itself. And she's like, how? And he explains that she buys tea from a place, and over the course of a year, it would cost $3,000 for her to buy tea every day from this place. And if she just stops drinking that tea, in a little over a year, the wall will have paid itself off. And she's like, what the fuck? Like, this is not what I wanted.
Yeah, she's still going to be going to coffee shops to get out of the house. Having that one bedroom is not enough. Like, anybody that's quarantined or just been home, no. Like, you want to get out.
Yeah. Like, you need to get out. Yeah. Especially if you're married to Desi.
Yes.
So they get into a fight. They start yelling at each other. There's a little shelf there. And she's like, what the fuck is this even? What is this little tiny shelf for? And then he puts like a Ray Bradbury digest or something collection on it.
I think Ray Bradbury had a show. I feel like, I'm not sure if those were books or DVDs, but I think there was a Ray Bradbury show. And it seemed like the DVD collection of it, and it fits perfectly in like little shelf.
Yeah, and he's like, there you go, it's for that. And she's like, you're being selfish. You don't even fucking think about me when you make these major decisions. Like, what the fuck is your problem? You're doing this all for you. And he's like, no, I'm not. I'm doing it for you because I'm trying to impress you and I'm trying to like build all this shit and you don't appreciate it. And then she's like, ugh, get out of here. I'm leaving. I'm out. And then he yells at her and she storms off.
I think,
yeah.
In Desi's slight defense, he was trying to do a nice thing, but he did it wrong. So the thought was there, the execution is just not there.
I agree with you. But in Marnie's defense, he does make very major decisions without her that cost them a lot of money.
Yeah, no, he's definitely trying to surprise her with this and thinking she's going to come back and be like, oh my God, this is great. Like, I mean, that's his thought process. And it's wrong, but like, it's not from a bad place. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm. I agree. There was some other thing that I was going to come to Desi's defense about, but I can't quite remember what it was at the moment. So we will go forward. Yeah. So now is when Hannah, Marnie, and Jessa are all hanging out. Do we go into that now?
We'll just touch on that. In this scene, Marnie has a realization that she's been criticizing Desi too much and not letting him be who he is going to be. That's more or less what comes from this. We can dive into that scene a little later.
It's more of a important Hannah and Jessa scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, comes to the realization, like you said, and she's like, I need to go apologize to Desi because I'm stifling who he is. And so she goes back to the apartment and Desi's like got a tiny hammer and he's just like going to town on the wall, destroying it, crying and screaming. And why would you want to be with this unhinged person?
Yeah, it reminded me of when he had gotten dumped but claimed he broke up with Clementine and he came back and he was all emotional and sobbing and everything. Like, I do. If we have any listeners that actually like Desi or like relate to Desi's character or something, I would love to hear from them because I just don't feel like anyone can side with Desi. Like, as much as like you might not like something Marnie does or something Shoshanna does or Hannah, like, or even Adam, of course, but like you could still be like, yeah, I can see little seeds of this in there, you know, that I like. But Desi, it's just like no redeeming qualities left.
You know what's crazy is I feel like there are people out there that are in relationships with Desi and they don't see it until they're out of the relationship. And then they're like, what the fuck? And they talk about it with other people and they're like, why would you date that guy? And they're like, I don't know. It seemed nice at the time. Like, you don't understand. He was really sweet and blah, blah, blah. But this guy is unhinged.
Yeah.
I'd be worried around him because he seems like he could just snap at any time.
Oh, dude, I just remembered a line that Marnie had in the first scene. When she comes in, he's like, oh, I thought you were going to still be with your mom. And she's like, oh, she got a new boyfriend, so she doesn't need me anymore.
Yeah. Well, also,
Marnie's
going
mom,
back to what I was saying about him snapping at any time is Marnie's, when he's building the wall, she says, this is insane. And then he goes, don't fucking call me insane. You know, my mom used to call me insane and you know I hate it. And I was like, oh boy, this could get ugly. And then Marnie rightfully is like, no, I didn't say that you're insane. I said, this is insane. So that is like, that guy could.
He's got mommy and daddy issues. He's got mommy and daddy issues.
Yeah, man. He's got just issues. So she comes home and he's wailing on the wall. He's wailing and sobbing. And she's like, hey, I wanted to come back and apologize. And he's like, no, I'm nothing without you. And I was just doing this to try to impress you because I'm so insecure. And you're a shining star and I'm a rat in the sewer. And she's like, no, you're not. You're perfect. And he's like, you're perfect. And they start to smooch. And he tries to take off his tank top and he's having a very hard time with it. And he's like, I can't even fucking take off this tank top. I'm such a piece of shit. And Marnie is very motherly, like, no, you're good. You got this. You've got it. And I was like, ugh, this is just gross to watch, dude.
And that's how we end it, right?
Yeah, that's where their story ends.
Yeah, and it's just like, was that the arc that Marnie needed? Like, her realization was that she's being too... Like, Marnie can be much, but like...
Her realization is like, oh, I need to be an enabler.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's this guy making huge financial and like living situations without me, and I need to just go with that. It's like, dude, that is not a good idea.
And I'll go back to two people with whatever income they have, if they share record deals. Two people could get a 1-bedroom that's a little bigger than the studio.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Even
in New York.
Yeah.
Like, New York is expensive, but two people don't need to live in a studio.
And they're used to paying a lot of money. Where did Desi live before this?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Was he living with Adam?
No,
Adam's living with Ray.
He had to be living with Clementine, right?
I guess. But even when he and Marnie started dating, he had to live somewhere else. Like, you can't just move in with somebody, right?
I mean, yeah. You can, but like, he wasn't living there when he was. I don't know.
Remember when Ray was homeless? That seems like forever ago.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Maybe it was one of those situations.
But that was still back when Charlie was in the picture, so they didn't know what to do with Ray as much.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where Desi was living before Marnie. Interesting.
Do you think Ray and Shoshanna would have still been a thing if Charlie was still around? You know, like, if Charlie was still around, I think you don't get Ray and Marnie hooking up.
I think if Charlie was still around, and maybe Shoshanna would have hooked up with him, because wasn't she like goo-goo eyes over him that one day?
Yeah, but she was goo-goo eyes over Desi too when he showed up, because she saw him in One Tree Hill.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So that's the end of Marnie and Desi's story for this episode. Mm-hmm. And now we shall head on over to Elijah, who has really carved out a nice place for himself in the show Girls.
Yeah.
As a major player with his own storyline and everything.
It's Girls plus Elijah.
Yeah. You know, he's one of the girls. Whatever.
Yeah.
One of those fucking basic bitch comments.
Yep.
He's one of my girls. These are my gays. Hate that. It's so offensive. Anyway, so we're at Ray's coffee shop, and Ray is staring hatefully across the street at Helvetica, and he's, waxing vitriolically about, is that even a word? If it is, I just pulled that out of my ass, and that's a pretty dope word. Vitriolically?
I don't think that.
I know vitriol's a word.
Yeah.
I'm not
gonna be a Fran. I'm gonna let it slide.
He is talking with a lot of vitriol about Helvetica and the hipsters that go there for their lidless coffee. And Elijah is looking for hairs on his lower back, because he has a date and he wants to make sure that his lower back looks good for reasons. And then Ray's like, oh, you got a date, eh? Who's your date with? And then Elijah's like, oh, I'm going to try and be coy about it. He's kind of famous. And then Ray's looking at him like, okay, I don't care. And he's like, it's Dill Harcourt. And Ray's like, okay.
Yeah, he's expecting a big reaction out of this. And he's like, don't make a big deal. And Ray just like, I didn't say anything.
Yeah. Ray no-sells it. He's just like, all right. And he's like, no, he's kind of a big deal. Like, he knows a bunch of really famous people. I've seen him with a bunch of all these people in a bunch of these magazines. And Ray's like, okay, I don't care.
Yeah.
Ray's more concerned with Helvetica. But, yeah. And that's basically that scene, pretty much.
Yeah, they just drop a bunch of names. He mentions that it's the dinner party he's going to, and like that Dill Harcourt one time hung out with Amanda Cox or whatever, and he's like
Amanda Knox. He was texting with Amanda Knox.
Amanda Knox. She's like, didn't she kill someone? Elijah's like, no, maybe. Like,
yeah,
whatever. I think it's interesting that Ray is so open with helping out, like Hannah and Elijah, like taking the nude photos and then being like, "Oh yeah, let me see your lower back." Like just no qualms about it at all. Like,
I mean, what else is he doing at that? I mean, but it's also like, this is my business. You can't just like have your ass out looking for lower.
well, there's one customer there that's not paying attention.
Yeah, that's true. He's eating a scone.
I still think, just being in the neighborhood I'm in, and we've talked about this, I still think that coffee shop would still get some business.
Absolutely.
Like it's
absolutely.
Like someone will walk and be like, "There's a line at Helvetica. I'm going across the street."
Yeah, dude. Yeah. What's the coffee place that's across the street from Alcove?
Maru, or whatever.
I think so. There's a coffee place that I always see a crazy long line at on Hillhurst, and it's whenever I'm at Alcove, and Alcove. There's still a bunch of fucking people there, and Alcove's a coffee place, and then you go down another street, and there's another coffee place that's got at like Stamp or whatever, they have coffee. It's like there's enough coffee business to go around.
Yeah, it's interesting like how a coffee shop would not do. I'm trying to think of, have I seen a coffee shop that doesn't do business, like even in New York?
Yeah, I can't think of one. It's always people sitting there with their laptops, writing their screenplays. I mean, out here.
Well, everyone
even in New York too.
Everyone lives in a converted studio apartment, and they need to get out and work on something. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But it's either like, how shitty is Ray's coffee, do you think?
It's not as good as Helvetica's, apparently. If Elijah doesn't like it, but yeah.
So yeah, it's basically that scene, and then the next time we see Elijah, he is on the date with Dill Harcourt, and he is crazy nervous. He is typical, I'm on a date with a celebrity, I can't believe it, this is wild energy, and he's trying so hard to be charming and relatable to Dill Harcourt, and Dill Harcourt seems to be going along with it, like he's having a good time with him.
Yeah.
And one thing that is annoying, annoying, but Dill Harcourt notices is that Elijah keeps looking towards the door because he thinks that it's supposed to be a party with his friends and he's supposed to be meeting Dill Harcourt's friends. And if he's concerned that Dill's trying to hide Elijah from his friends. And he's like, well, if that's what this is, like, I'm fine with that, but I just want to know, like, I thought that people were coming and I was going to be meeting your friends. And if I'm not, that's fine. And Dill Harcourt's like, you know what? It's not fine. And just as he says that, like, all of his friends show up. And then Elijah's like, oh, this is so nice. Someone that actually is showing interest in me.
Yeah, it seems like this is their first date, really.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess they had a nice interaction at the bar that time they were hanging out, because who knows how long they were at the bar.
That's true.
But there's that line, like, they talk about being embarrassed and the 2-year-old and all the pictures online and whatever. And then he says something like, oh, I have a team of people to take care of, like, to hide the bad stuff. That seems real threatening, NDA, like, celebrity, like, fuckboy stuff. And
Elijah, he like grabs Elijah's hand even and like gripping it really hard, it seems like. He's like, and if this is, if anything bad happens, if just know that I have a team that gets rid of this kind of bad stuff. And then Elijah's drinking a martini. He's like, oh, this is scary.
Yeah, it's like, funny but scary. Like, and I was like, man, yeah, that seems threatening.
Yeah,
and then
maybe
all
that's
the
just
friends
his sense of humor.
Yeah, and then Orr's going to come back later.
Yeah, but I thought it would come back. Killed.
I thought it would come back later. But then the next scene is a montage of them just like having the greatest loving date or whatever out like in
hanging out
in
Times Square. Yeah, like walking around together and taking pictures of people.
Public. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, especially like they're surrounded by people that know who Dill Harcourt is. They're asking to take selfies with him, and he's getting Elijah in on them. He's getting Elijah like sign autographs too. And then in the middle of everybody, they just start kissing, making out hardcore.
Yeah, I thought he would want to keep things a little more discreet. Like, I thought it was like, oh, one thing to go to this restaurant with the friends, but like, if you're a celebrity like him, people are going to be taking your picture. People are going to be like, oh my God, did you see who he was out with? Like, if they cared enough about your kid photos, photos of you being 2 years old, they're definitely going to be like, oh my God, who is this guy that he's dating? And when you have
Elijah's going to be in the tabloids.
Yeah. And you have to like vet Elijah at that point, be like, wait, what's going to come out about this guy? Like, if it's one thing if you're dating him and you don't know, but like when it comes out in the news, they're gonna be like, who's the guy he's dating? Well, he works at Ray's coffee shop. He was in Iowa doing nothing for a while, like former dance. Like, all that stuff is gonna come out. And I would think you would, if you have a team that is your like publicity team that keeps stuff from getting out, they would want to know. It would be like go to Times Square and publicly make out with a guy in front of the most crowded place in the world. Yeah.
The most iconic part in New York City, the most populated city in the world.
Nothing but tourists from other towns. And they're like, classic New York.
Yeah.
Just celebrities just always go to Times Square to make out.
Yeah. So they making out in Times Square, and then we cut to the next time we see them. They're having sex, and it's very awkward. It's very weird. It was Dill Harcourt kind of has like Adam sex vibes, where it's just very strange directions.
Yeah, I thought a thing that they did with this sex scene that was very great in a way of showing is that it showed them in missionary position, because I think everyone always thinks of gay sex as like doggy style sex or whatever.
Yeah.
And they just showed them straight up missionary. Elijah's on top, and Dill Harcourt is like just talking him. Yeah, it was. I'm trying to think.
See,
no, you know what it reminded me. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of when Charlie was hooking up with Marnie, and Marnie would tell him like, "Oh, do this, do that, do this, do that." Yeah.
Well, I couldn't tell if Dill Harcourt was joking or not, because he was like, "All right, slower.
Yeah.
Okay, now fuck me fast. Faster, stop, slow." It was like he was playing red light, green light with him while he was having sex.
I thought it was to show, because it's like, it comes after another sex scene that we see that we're going to get into. Yeah. But I think it was just to show like the awkwardness of first time sex with people, basically.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I got from it. But also I'm not sure what Harcourt's deal is. And it seemed like Elijah and him had a great time with it. Like, it wasn't like super awkward.
Yeah, they started afterwards. They were like laughing, so that's what made me be like, was that a joke, or is like this just like a funny thing to get Elijah on his toes or something? Yeah. But maybe that's just how Dill Harcourt likes it.
Yeah,
more power to him.
I know. So.
I just never seen that.
Yeah.
Red light, green light sex, dude, is.
Yeah.
And that basically wraps up Elijah and Dill Harcourt's story.
Well, we cut to another shot of him, and it's Elijah's in his little tidy blackies.
Yeah.
And he walks over to a window and stares out, and they're like in a penthouse, high-rise kind of thing, looking out over the city.
Yeah.
Because Elijah's on top of the world right now.
Yeah, it was pretty rad.
Yeah, Elijah.
He's of the girls, he's doing the best.
In relationship, well, we'll see. Like,
yeah. So if
by doing the best you mean hooking up with the most popular person.
So a couple episodes ago, when we first met Dill Harcourt, we had an over under how many episodes this is going to last. Would you count the last episode as it lasting, because we don't see them at all?
No, we said he'd be in 3 episodes.
Yeah, it was over under 3.5.
We said under.
This is episode 1.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's got 2 more episodes before it all comes crumbling down.
Mm-hmm.
Or we're wrong.
Yeah, which we've been a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Maybe since the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at our hits and misses, the batting average is not very good for the boys watching girls.
But we're still on the team. They haven't cut us yet.
Yeah. We're like locker room leaders.
Yeah.
Like, we've just been around for a while and we know the system.
Yeah.
But we We're the Chris Davis on the Baltimore Orioles. They're paying us way too much to cut us.
Yeah.
We're owed a lot of money.
We know where all the lockers are.
Yeah. We show the rooks around.
Yeah.
All right. So, Hannah?
Yeah, let's get into it.
So, right off the bat in this episode, this is the first scene of the episode. It sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but so Fran is at a table. It looks like he's grading papers. And it seems like Hannah is peeing with the door open.
Possibly. Yeah, I was not paying attention to. That is where their bathroom is, so sure. Yeah.
Yeah, the door was open.
Mm-hmm.
It sounded like water was running. I don't know if she was just washing her hands. I thought that she was maybe taking a bath or a shower, but then she comes out fully clothed. So I'm just assuming she was peeing with the door open.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
No boundaries. I mean, you're married, Vance. Do you pee with the door open?
No.
Yeah. I think there's some lines that there's some boundaries.
Yeah. But if you watched what's the movie? The movie with Nicole Kidman and her ex-husband Tom Cruise. Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah.
They open and they're like getting ready, and she's in the bathroom peeing, and they're all getting dressed together, and they're just roaming around.
You know what? I had a girlfriend that would be fine, like going to the bathroom while I'm like brushing my teeth.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Like you're like there's a full. That's a direct relation. That's even worse.
Guess. But
that's wait, she's like in the bathroom.
No. Somehow it seems worse to just her not be in the room and leave the door open than for both of us to be in the bathroom.
That's stupid. That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know why. To me, that seems like, I don't know.
No,
I don't know,
like
man.
Your situation's way worse. Like she's in a completely different room. Like,
look, I hear your logic in it. Yeah. Vance, I hear your logic and it makes complete sense. But in my brain, it seems better to be in the same room. I don't know. Well, I also had another roommate at the time too. I don't know, man. It was wild.
You should just stop talking. Like the more you talk, you're digging your own grave here. Like that's even more rude. Roommate there too.
Okay.
Close the door.
God. Well, we did close the door. We closed the door, but both of us were in there together.
Oh God!
So that he wouldn't see us in the bathroom.
Let's move on.
We had to hide our shame, Vance. So anyway, Fran's grading papers, but it turns out that he's like looking over Hannah's grading of her papers for her students, and he's got some issues with how Hannah's grading her papers. And he's like, "Look, this is grammatically incorrect. These kids aren't. This is not good, and you're just letting them off, and you're not docking them for all of these grammatical errors." And she's like, "Yeah, because the point of this assignment wasn't about grammar. It was more about emotional reactions to the poetry, and like it's supposed to be visceral. Just write down what you feel." And Fran's like, "Yeah, that's not going to help anybody. You should really consider grading with this with these spelling and grammar errors." And then they get into a bit of a fight, and then he starts to grade it, and she's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" They have a tug of war with one of the papers, and it looks like it kind of got ripped.
Mm-hmm.
And then we cut to the title card.
Yeah, I'm on Hannah's side here 100%.
Me too. Absolutely.
One is like she's going to teach her way, he's going to teach his way. But also the assignment isn't about grammar. Like those are two separate things. Like writing gets broken down into just like get it all out, get the thoughts out, get it organized, and then you can go back and fix the grammar up. But when kids are, when you're telling kids to try and like express themselves and put their heart and soul or whatever thoughts on a paper, like you analyze those thoughts and then you can go into the grammar. But if you just start putting red marks all over something that someone just like put their soul into, why will they ever? They're going to get so locked up in trying to make sure, oh, this comma goes here, or is it a possessive apostrophe this, or is it, like if they go so locked up in that, they can't create anymore. And that happens to people too. Like I have that editing like mindset when I write, and I have to like turn it off because you'll just start checking everything, you know?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Hannah's 100% in the right. And it's also like, Fran, why are you giving yourself extra work?
Yeah. And it just goes to show like a little bit of what Fran is, but it's also, now that we're talking about it, it actually is the first seed where we talk about Hannah's writing, her own writing, because he mentions like they need to learn this and like you need to learn this. Like he's questioning like her own writing. Like he says it under his breath, but like it's there. And then something Jessa says later is also like questioning her writing. So it's like a little bit of, oh yeah, we might be getting back into this part for Hannah, you know?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, and it was interesting to see. This is our first kind of chink in the armor for Fran, where it's like this guy might be a little flawed. Well, oh boy, wait till he turns into a control freak OCD person.
Like, I agree with Hannah in this situation. I don't think this is a make or break thing.
Yeah,
for me. Like, really, he should. They need to separate boundaries. He shouldn't even be looking over her papers. Like, for one.
Yeah, and I don't know why.
Yeah. And I get he's like, oh my God, I just want to fix this thing. But it's not like she's like, hey, take a look at these. And then he did it or whatever. Also, we mentioned that they would never bring up those photos from last episode or the episode before. Yeah, of course not. I guess.
Yeah, no word on the nudes.
I guess her deleting all of his spank bank didn't affect anything. Or her not saying, I love you back.
Maybe he just really enjoyed her nudes that she replaced them with.
Yep. Yeah. Whatever, Fran. Yeah.
So the next time we see Hannah is she is teaching a class and it's ending and she's giving back the graded papers, and her one student with the ripped paper, Miley, which is spelled Maile, which was a bit of a disagreement between Hannah and Fran, because Fran pronounces it male and she's like, she hates that. Her name is Miley.
Yeah. Why do parents just do that to kids? That's what
Well, it's weird that Fran is so anal about the grammar errors, but he won't call students by how they want to be called.
Well, it goes to Hannah's point of like, well, she says we're all going to be speaking Chinese in a few years or something like that. But like later, like the point is grammar's so randomly fluid, and like the way the world is now, like tweets aren't like, people get paid to write tweets and they're not like grammatically correct. Blogs posts aren't. This podcast isn't. You just made up a word.
I did. Vitriology or whatever.
Possibly. Maybe it's a word. I don't know. But exactly. Like, language is a fluid thing. Like, you need to know the basics of grammar. And there's, like, a way to teach that, too. But the other process is a part of it.
Yeah, so the student comes up to Hannah and is like, what happened to my paper? Like, what the fuck? And Hannah's like, oh, you want to know what happened to your paper? Let's go talk to Mr. Fran and find out what happened to your paper. And this is where I hop off the Hannah being on Hannah's side train, because she interrupts Fran's class. She knocks on his door, brings him out into the hallway, and she's like, my student would like to know what happened to her paper, Fran. And he's like, this is not a good time. And she's like, it's fine. I just pulled you out of class. It's no big deal. And he's like, actually, that's a pretty big fucking deal because that's my job. And she's like, I want you to explain to her what happened with her poem or her reaction to a poem. And he calls her male. She's like, it's Miley. And then Hannah and Fran basically have the same argument in front of the student, and they're bickering at each other. And the student is so uncomfortable, rightfully so. And this is just incredibly unprofessional. And this is where I hop on this part of the argument. I'm on Fran's side.
I'm still on Hannah's side a bit in this argument right here. One, Fran's actions the night before is what caused this to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
So, also, it's a high school class. It doesn't matter if you step out for 10 minutes. It really doesn't. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's not like he was talking about, sometimes the presidents don't and the first lady don't sleep in the same room. Like, he was not giving like vital information. Like it wasn't like, oh my God, this class is missed. Like you missed 10 minutes of that class. We're so far behind. Like whatever. Also like I didn't understand. Like I got the student being uncomfortable, but she also was so distressed by the paper that she brought it up to the teacher. You know what I mean? Like, and then once she was trying to get her answer, she seemed like, oh, I don't really care anymore. Like I was like, you seem like the kid cared, and then now she didn't.
Once she saw the bickering and the argument that was happening, she was like, I'm out. I'm done with this. I don't want to have anything to do with this anymore. If I was Hannah and the student came up to me, I was like, what happened to my paper? I'd have been like, I got crumpled up on I sat on it or something.
That's what you would say? And you accidentally put red marks on it?
Well, fucking lie.
Instead, she is honest and says her boyfriend, which is interesting because I don't know if that's been established in the school. What's the dating process? Does the principal know? I can't wait till we get another principal scene. I love those scenes with them.
That principal is great. Yeah. He has such great logic to hammer home at Hannah, and she always like worms her way out of it.
She can deflect him so well.
It's ridiculous.
But yeah, I mean, she was calling a student a crazy bitch in the hallway before. Like her having this conversation is like light work.
Yeah.
And he's like, I think you're being a bit too much or whatever. And she's like, I'm being just enough or something, which is a great line.
I thought that when he called her a bit too much, that was going to like flip her over the edge and just she was going to freak out. Oh, I'm being a bit too much. Like that's what's I think it's like Britney Spears always has songs where it's like, oh, you think I'm crazy? I'll show you crazy. It's like, that's not the way to win this argument.
Yeah, but like she actually doesn't go off the rails here, which I was like, oh, great.
She screams at Fran, this child's blood is on your hands, as he's walking back into his classroom.
I did love that line. Yeah.
Oh, God.
What did Fran expect? Fran,
I don't know.
Fran, you did this to yourself.
Fran knew.
Fran, you did this to yourself.
Last season, you were like, you're dramatic. And now she's being dramatic and you're surprised, Fran.
And like, this is dramatic because you did something, not like her. Like, yeah.
Yeah, dude. He should not have been grading her papers.
I don't think you could do that.
What kind of teacher is he?
You can't do that with any other teacher. Like, even if you weren't dating. It was like, don't touch my papers. Like, don't interrupt someone else's like work process. Another question I had. Is Hannah full-time now?
I think so.
Okay. Because I was like, at first she started out as a sub, and now she's just there.
I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
That teacher must be out sick a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm assuming she's full-time now.
I'm assuming she's full-time too, because she's always teaching the same like English literature class.
Yeah.
So either that teacher is very, very ill and is in the hospital, or she's full-time.
Also, just to go back to this and triple down on it, grammar doesn't matter in poetry at all. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, have you seen E.E. Cummings?
Yeah. Like,
dude doesn't capitalize shit.
Like, it doesn't matter. It's poetry. Like, it's not like a dissertation or something where you're like, okay, this needs to be formatted right. You know?
I couldn't tell. What were they writing poems, or were they writing reactions to poems?
I can't remember exactly.
Me neither. And that's kind of what I got. I just realized, I was like, is this, what am I talking about?
It just seems like whatever they were writing, Fran overreacted to the wording.
Yeah, Fran definitely overreacted. Why would you make more work for yourself? Yeah. It's not your students. Yeah. Like, get the fuck out of here.
I commend him for caring, but you don't have to.
I would maybe mention it to Hannah and be like, why is this all fucked up? And then she's like, oh, that's because I did it this way. And be like, oh, that's pretty stupid, but whatever.
Yeah.
That's how I would have been.
You can have a conversation, but just don't start writing. But I get the drama for the show. It makes sense.
Yeah. So this causes Hannah to be extremely distraught. And she walks over to Jess's apartment where Marnie is hanging out. And
is Jess's apartment Shoshanna's apartment, or what is this place?
I think it's just Jess's apartment. This is the same apartment where she and Adam masturbated in front of each other, because I recognized that couch.
Yeah, so Jessa has her own apartment.
I think so.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I mean, does it matter?
Yeah, no.
We don't know where anybody. We don't know where Desi lived at all.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So Hannah goes over and she's, talking shit about Fran, being like, I don't think I can date this guy anymore. And Marnie's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's a good guy.
No, Marnie has the best. She's like, I don't even know what this is about, but whatever. Fran's probably right.
Yeah, I wrote this specific quote down for that one too, because I was like, I don't even know what this argument's about, but I'm just going to assume that Fran is right.
Yeah.
Is like the best summation of Hannah's life. Like, it was so
I'm just
good.
thinking of Shoshanna's friends and how nice they are in Japan. And how supportive. And these girls are just the worst. Oh.
But so Marnie basically is like, Fran's a good guy, don't break up with him. And Hannah's saying that, he seems like a good guy, but secretly he's a manipulative, under the surface, insidious guy who's a control freak and he's trying to take over things. And then Marnie's like, stop right now. Do not break up with Fran. And then she says something about like, well, at least Fran seems sane. And or she says something about Adam. She's like, she's like, at least Fran seems.
She's like, Fran seems sane, and then like, unlike Adam, and she's like, Adam was insane, but he was.
She said Adam was actually sane, but he was in an insane person's body.
Yeah.
And then this is where Jessa chimes in, and she's like, no, you're actually wrong about that. Adam's fucking insane. He's all fucked up, and that guy sucks.
Yeah.
And then they both kind of look back at Jessa like, what was that about?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we haven't gotten into it, but when this scene started, it was all just like talk so that Jessa could hear it, basically.
Yeah.
And even though Marnie, while she's talking to Hannah, comes to her realization of like, oh, maybe I need to like support Desi more.
Yeah, I don't know how she made that leap based off of what Hannah's saying.
I forget the exact connection, but whatever, it was like a one-to-one of like, oh, I'm doing what you're doing to, or she was doing what Fran was doing to her. Like Fran wasn't wasn't letting Hannah just be the crazy Hannah that she is. Something like that.
Yes. You're correct. And then, then she leaves to go apologize to Desi, and then Hannah's stuck there with Jessa.
Mm-hmm.
So then, should we start to do Jessa's story now? Because this is where they kind of entangle.
Yeah, sure. If you want. Yeah, your call.
Yeah, I think we should, because the next scene is Hannah and Jessa.
Yeah.
So basically the first scene that we see Jessa in is she's at an all-women's AA meeting, and Adam shows up, and the woman's like, hey, this is all for women only.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, fuck, all right, I'll leave.
And I forget the name. It's Sue, I want to say Sue Galloway or something, the actress that's telling the story of like not wanting to be a mother in the AA. She's from 30 Rock. She's in 30 Rock and other stuff. But yeah, just want to throw it out.
Yeah. So Adam leaves. Jessa kind of is like, what the fuck is he doing here? She leaves now. The meeting is over, and then Adam's waiting outside for her, and she's like, what are you, stalking me now? He's like, I don't know. I just didn't know that you went to this meeting. And I've heard that you've been going to women's only meetings now. And Jessa's like, yeah, I really need sisterhood. And he's like, no, you don't. You're avoiding me. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you're avoiding me, and you're going to these women's only meetings because you're avoiding me, and I don't know why. So like, what's the deal? She's like, because I can't do this with you because of Hannah. And then Adam calls her a pussy and then walks away. I was like,
there's some interesting stuff in this where he lies and says, oh, I was in town rehearsing for a role as a pickpocket, and he takes out a wallet and hands it to her. She's like, what? Really? And it's like, this is your wallet. And he's like, and I was like, okay, so if he stole someone's wallet, Jessa, you would be super excited.
Yeah.
And then also she was like, you keep texting me these weird text messages that aren't even full sentences. You need eat.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great. Because it's been a track record of Adams of being a terrible text message person and a terrible conversation on the phone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I felt really weird about this scene because I don't know anything about addiction or, you know, but like, it seems like if Jess is like, this is what I need right now, and then Adam's flipping a shit about it, like, don't you see how that could be very bad for Jessa?
Well, I felt this. I feel what you're saying here. I don't think she's actually going to these meetings for sisterhood and to just to get help, you know, for her addiction.
Yeah.
I think she's definitely doing this to keep going to AA, but to not be around Adam. That's one. But him calling her a pussy is like the peer pressure way of getting someone to date you, which is weird. Like, that's what you call someone when they don't want to take a shot of beer or something.
Exactly.
You know, like, it's like the weird. So I get that connection of like, hey, this person is really susceptible to someone calling them out for not doing something. So that's not a great way for this relationship to start. Because it was like when she was clean and Jasper was like, hey, come on, let's do it. And she was like, I don't want to do it. And he's like, come on, do it. You know you want it. Like, and then she did it, and then she fell back into like junkiedom.
Yeah, dude, this scene for some reason made me super uncomfortable, and it felt very like Adam should not be doing this. Like, this is not good.
Well, yeah, one, he's stalking, which isn't great. Two, he's saying that
it's not great.
Not great.
I think we all can admit this isn't a good decision.
Two, he's saying Hannah would just do it and not care. Doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
And then calling her a pussy at the end, which is just not even like, there's definitely a better way to phrase that, which they've done in the other episodes where they've had the same conversation 50 times, you know?
Yeah.
And then
I was like, they're still on this.
Yeah.
Like, I thought they were jerking off in front of each other.
Like and then she says, I don't even like her, right? About Hannah as she's walking away. He's walking away. Which I was like, okay, that weird.
Yeah. So then it's the Hannah, Marnie, Jessa scene where they're talking, and Fran has that. Hannah's talking about Fran, and Marnie has the realization, and Jessa talks about Adam being a psycho. And then so next is
wait. So
Jessa.
So
what's up?
The episode's called Old Loves because that's the name of a Tumblr that Marnie's looking at, and it's old celebrity couples. So that's the reasoning for the episode being called Old Loves. Because this is like because this scene is kind of tying everybody's relationship together. And Hannah says something that was interesting where she says, I think maybe relationships just have a finite time and they should just end, and like they don't last forever. And I was like, weren't you talking about forever couples like last season?
She also mentions, like, you know, maybe some couples' times just run out, like Cher and whoever she was dating.
She mentioned Whoopi Goldberg and Ted Danson. She's like, maybe me and Fran, maybe that's over. And that's when Marnie gets up. She's like, don't break up with him, I gotta go. Yeah.
So then Jessa and Hannah go and get, I don't know what this dessert was.
They went to a rice pudding shop. And when this happened, I was like, I remember being in New York when, like, I think that rice pudding shop opened, or like rice pudding shops were like a thing for like a hot minute.
I don't remember that at all.
It's not like you do not need to go to a place that just serves rice pudding. Like, it is. This is going to be This is going to be very topical and of this time. So if you're listening to this in, like, you know, 2022 or whatever, it might not make sense. But right now we're living in the, like, coronavirus pandemic quarantine. And for some reason, this scene of them in the rice pudding shop ordering rice pudding without masks and just eating it out in the open with people, it made me so sad because I haven't done anything. You know, we're not allowed to do anything like that for the safety of the world.
And I was just watching that and being like, wow, that is what the world used to be. No mask. You just went outside, didn't give a fuck.
Oh yeah, I mean
that
that happens when you watch anything nowadays.
Yeah.
You're just like,
I don't know why. Like usually like I haven't had that feeling, but today with this scene, it really bummed me out.
Yeah, I thought you would have had that feeling last episode when Shoshanna goes to that concert and it's like fully packed.
Well, I never went to concerts.
Okay.
But you know me, I used to go to froyo places like all the fucking time.
So it hit you specifically that you couldn't get a froyo.
Yeah, couldn't get a nice, delicious, icy treat.
But yeah, the rice pudding fad was a thing at one point.
All right.
I don't know if it lasts. I don't think it didn't last, but they might be sold one shop. Who knows?
Yeah. So Hannah and Jessa are talking, and Hannah's basically still complaining about. She's complaining about everything as Hannah does, and Jessa's kind of pissed off at her because she's like, well, I didn't want to come out here, but here I am catering to your needs again. Another
thing that we forgot to mention in the when they're all together is that Jessa is studying. Apparently she's in school for to be a therapist or whatever. And she's like, hey, guys, I need to study. And Marnie and Hannah are just there, like, just like ruining her. And Jessa has like a comically large amount of books around her.
Yeah.
It's like she's reading 20 books at a time and trying to study.
Yeah.
Whatever. Well, I mean, it probably is true though. I never did med school or anything like that. But so then they go down here. She still mentions like, "Hey, I really wanted to study," but Hannah's like, "I want to take you out, whatever."
Yeah, Hannah's like, "I want to take you out," and then Hannah only has an Amex card, and they don't accept the Amex. So Jess is like, "Great, I didn't even want to come here, and now I'm treating you. I'm taking you out. This is just perfect, typical Hannah shit."
Yeah, it's like, which is an overreaction because anybody that hangs out with people with Amex cards knows that these places just don't accept Amex sometimes.
Yeah, why even have one? You know,
I don't really know. It's status symbols,
I guess.
So no, my wife has an Amex card, and dude, so she has the Amex card, the white one with the blue in it.
Dude, that one's so cool, the see-through one.
Yeah. So when we were in Argentina, like we paid for something at a shop, and like they were so like they'd never seen that card before. And, like they were like, "What?" And she called another like employee over to see the card. And I'm like, man, like all you need is that card to feel like you're like a superstar over there.
Yeah, man. I remember when that card first came out, I like yelled at my mom. I was like, "You gotta get that credit card."
It's weird. The numbers are different.
Just get them.
The numbers are different. Like most credit cards have like a 3-digit code. They have like 4 digits. They have a 4-digit code, and there's less numbers on the front of it. I think just a way to set yourself apart. It seems.
I guess.
Yeah.
But so then Jessa and Hannah are having like this weird, awkward conversation about like, you know, thanks for coming out with me or whatever. And Jessa's like, yeah, what else would you be doing? You'd just be on the internet ruining your brain, looking at all the same websites over and over again. Maybe that's why your writing sucks now or whatever. You lost your lust for writing.
Maybe that's why you stopped writing.
Yeah, because your brain is rotted by all these websites.
And Hannah's like that's a low blow for nowhere, you know? Which I thought that was the second time that her writing has been brought up, you know?
Yeah.
Which I was like, oh, all right, they're really digging into this. Like she had gotten
maybe this
past it a little bit.
Maybe this is the spark that lights the fire for her to start writing again or something.
I feel like her book contract will probably come back into play, you know? Like remember it was like a 2-year thing for the book to be owned by that one company, but that one other company wanted it, but they don't have the rights yet. And I feel like this season will get her back into the writing thing, which she seems okay with the teaching, but these seeds have been planted that, like Fran's questioned it, Jessa's questioned it, so.
Yeah. And then Jessa has some other insult for her. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember the one that like put her over the top to get Hannah to be like, why are you being so mean to me?
Mm-hmm.
And then Jessa says, I'm always mean to you. Which I thought was amazing.
It was great. And then
Hannah says, yeah, Hannah says something like, yeah, but usually it's nicer.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was a great moment.
Yeah. And I think that Hannah says something like, it makes it seem like you don't even really want to be friends with me anymore. And then Jess is like, maybe I don't. And Hannah's like, well, alrighty then. And then I guess I'll go take my rice pudding elsewhere. And then she leaves. And then she stands outside and she's like staring at Jessa through the window. And then she walks back in. She goes in Jessa's face and she's pointing like she's like a centimeter from her nose. You could feel the heat off of her finger. And she's like, I want you to know that you're a bitch and you've always been a bitch. And right now you're being a huge fucking cunt. And then walks out.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
And I was like, this was long overdue, Hannah.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was long overdue for you to say that. And she said, I'm going to leave. Hannah said, I'm going to leave if I'm going to spend time with my boyfriend who doesn't like me instead of being here with you who doesn't like me, or something like that.
Yeah. If I'm going to be with someone who hates me, I'm going to go be with my boyfriend.
Yeah. Which is a great line.
Yeah.
And I expected the Jessa scene to have a bunch of to really have a real confrontation where they actually talked about the thing or that she revealed it instead of her doing. It was interesting to see Hannah be able to see through Jessa's like fake.
Yeah, she says that Jess is acting weird and being different and like, why are you acting like
She's
this?
like, I just wanted to study and you guys pulled me out. She's like, no, that's not it. It's definitely something more. And I thought Jessa was going to say something, but instead she just kept going deeper into like just being mean to Hannah.
Yeah.
Who at this point, Hannah has so many faults. At this point, she's not at fault at all. Like, I think if she started to hook up with Adam, she'd be like, oh man, I do not like that, but fine. Like, you know, I think she'd say yeah, but not really mean it, if she actually asked her.
It was interesting.
So she just basically did the equivalent of, oh, I like another person, so but I'm with someone else, so I'm gonna get mad at that other person, so they break up with me, so I can be with the other person and guilt free. Yeah.
Do the whole like, I'll just be a shitty boyfriend, so they break up with me, and I can be with the other person now.
Yeah. And see, it's not my fault they broke up with me. Like,
Still get the sympathy, like, oh, I just got dumped. It's like, yeah, but you know what you did.
Exactly.
So then Jessa goes over to Adam's apartment. She knocks on the door. Adam says, I'm not here.
Yeah, Adam. I don't like in love Adam. I just don't.
Yeah. So then he opens the door and he's like, oh, hey, what's up? And Jessa's like clearly upset. She's like, I just got back from hanging out with Hannah, and I have to let you know, like, this is wrong. What we're doing is wrong. And then I was like, you are shaking. Like, is everything all right? Like, are you good? And then Jessa says, I've wanted this for so long. And then Adam says, me too. And they start making out. And then they are having sex. And it is real awkward, but kind of sweet.
It was perfectly awkward. Like, I think they handled this like so well.
And this scene is cut with Elijah and Dill Harcourt, who
it cuts to it afterwards. It's not intercut. It's completely after. Like, it's not like back and forth.
Oh, I could have swore it was like
nope.
Adam and Jessa were fucking, then they cut to Dill, and then they go back to Adam, and Adam says,
no.
They're having a struggle with the old sex.
No, they go like, it's basically this one ends as like, oh, is this what like bad sex is like? And Adam and Jess are kind of like laughing, and then you cut. Then there's a hard cut to Elijah and Dill Harcourt. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did like the Adam's trying to be sweet. Jess is giving him direction. It's just bad. They couldn't decide on a position.
Yeah, and it's like their foot was coming off because I was like, oh, why are they just on the couch? You know, I was like, this is tough. But then I realized he's staying at Ray's, so it's only a 1-bedroom at Adam's old place. Yeah. Right. Which is also weird. Like Adam just like crashing on the couch at Ray's.
Right.
Hey, the lesson here: do not become a Broadway actor. Apparently, you will be building walls or sleeping on a coffee shop owner's couch. Like, Adam's been in commercials. He's been on TV. Like,
dude, I was in a commercial, and he was in a national commercial.
No, yeah, like it seems like
that's a load of money.
It seems like he has enough for his own place, or at least a 2-bedroom where he would have a room. Like, I don't know if he's just sleeping on that couch, because I don't think Adam has a 2-bedroom apartment.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, it was just a 1-bedroom, right?
Yeah. But I did love the line of, is this what bad sex is like? And Jess is like, yeah. And then they start laughing.
Yeah, I just felt like they just got into a weird positioning and could never get out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, both sex scenes end with like a little laughter and like it's not one of those ones where like, this was terrible, never doing it again, this was a huge mistake. It's like, no, you get to see that these couples are actually kind of like, they're down for each other, you know?
Yeah. Like this is a mulligan.
Yeah.
We're going to like, this is bad. Yeah. But we're going to work on this. We're going to get it right the next time.
Yeah. Yeah. And there will be a next time.
Oh, absolutely. But this is definitely 100% confirmed. Joe's prediction was right, that they are going to hook up. And
see, the thing is, you doubted yourself, though.
I did. There was this, I think it was like an episode or two after I made the prediction. I was like, I don't think this is happening.
And I've never doubted myself. I'm still not doubting myself.
You still think Adam's going to hook up with Marnie, all right?
If that happened, now that she's married and he's hooked up with 2 of the 4 girls, like, that would be insane. My only thing I'm hanging on to is a weird dream sequence. Which this show has not done. There's been like one flashback,
never done,
and there's no dream sequences. So that's. But see, I am not wavering in my belief.
Yeah, I shouldn't have doubted myself.
You doubted yourself. I had to say, don't doubt it. They have something there.
Yeah. Well, I'm still taking the W on this one, though.
Yeah.
So then it's like a cut between all of the couples. It's like Jess is laying on Adam's chest, and then Elijah and Dill. This is when Elijah walks out onto the porch, and then Hannah and Fran are like back to back grading papers, and Fran looks back, and Hannah's just like kind of ignoring him.
It's kind of great framing in that shot, because Fran is still sitting on the couch where they last had sex, and he told her that he loved her, you know, and she's back at the table. So he's still like sitting middle of that couch is just terrible for Fran. Just bad moments every time.
Yeah. Yeah, he should avoid that couch. Burn some sage around that couch or whatever those hippie people do.
Yeah. And the episode ends with just like Jessa lying on Adam's chest and then like looking at him and staring at his face while he's asleep. Which is fine, I guess.
Yeah.
So now we get the drama later of Hannah finding out.
You think they're gonna make that space out until like the end of the season, like the season finale, if she finds out?
No, I think I saw like a thumbnail for the next episode, and it looks like they're like hanging out together. Adam and Jessa are at least like hanging out together somewhere. I don't think it's a way for them to keep this a secret.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, like Ray's gonna see it, right? Like Ray's gonna.
I think that Ray could keep a secret like that, though.
But he works with Elijah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's no secrets within this group. Not that. I don't think, because what are we, 4 episodes into the season? I don't think this lasts the whole. I think they'll find out in an episode or two.
Yeah, 6 episodes would be a long way to stretch that.
And be unnecessary. Like, you'd rather have the drama.
Yeah.
My question is, what do you think we see Shoshanna next episode?
Well, you wanted me to tell you the name of the next episode?
Yeah.
Maybe it'll lead to some kind of clue.
Go for it.
The title of the next episode is Queen for 2 Days. So I don't think that we're going to be seeing Shoshanna the next episode.
Queen for 2 days. I don't know.
I have no idea either.
Yeah.
Usually we got a cute little prediction.
I'm gonna force a prediction. Desi gives Marnie a spa day retreat thing. So that
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I went out of left field with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know. But thanks for listening, guys. That's our episode on Old Loves. Follow us on social media. We got the Boys Watching Girls podcast on Instagram. If you want to write in to send us an email or something, we got some good emails. We got some good knowledge. Turns out the last episode that was titled Japan was filmed in Japan, according to one of our listeners.
And we figured out, and our listener let us know that the spa that they're at is called an onsen or an onsen. And it's, there are a ton of those around Japan. They're like hot springs.
Yeah, and probably was not a part of their company.
Yes.
But like, why was all of them there?
I think that's just I think it's a cultural thing, and people go there. Like, what do people do in the U.S.? What do they go to?
Yeah, where do they go together?
Yeah,
like I guess like brunch.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of brunch.
It's brunch. You go hang out naked with your friend in a tub.
Yeah. Americans brunch in Japanese onsen. Yeah.
So shout out. Thank you for emailing in and letting us know. We have an email address. It's BoysWatchingGirlsPodcast@gmail.com. If you have some info or just want to say what's up, send it on in. But yeah, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. See ya.
Dill, are you threatening me?
You try to fuck with me, you're toast. I'm just kidding. Sort of.
Oh, scary.